So let's talk about growth. Okay, as retail investors, you need to look for companies that have that growth story to them. That's where you're going to get the leverage and the returns that you're looking for your investments. And one of the questions we get asked quite a lot is specifically around whether larger companies, the 500, 600, 700 plus $1 million companies can still provide that. I think generally the answer is it's difficult for them to do that, and it gets progressively difficult as they get bigger and bigger. However, we've spoken to 3 companies recently, of that size, where the CEOs believe that they still have that growth component for retail investors to look at. And here's some of the responses that we got from them when we posed that question to them.
Hi there, James Withall, the CEO of Rupert Resources. Thanks for your time and listening to this. Rupert Resources had a fantastic year last year. I mean, we just announced 4 million ounce resource, almost 4 million ounce resource at 2.5 grams, one of the most significant new discoveries of the last probably 15, 20 years in the industry. So it was a phenomenal year for the company, and it's all been about delivering on our exploration strategy up in Finland and this Equities discovery that's been the outcome of that. I think that comes down to where you can look at the Equities discovery and how we filtered it through from the beginning. That's why we set this goal at the beginning. People say, and simplistically saying $2 billion worth of NSI and scale is not it doesn't really describe it. It's all those other elements. I look at the Equities discovery, it's close to surface. It's low metallurgical risk. It's in a great jurisdiction in northern Finland. It's got all those things that reduce the risks of spending investors' money in the region. So that's the thing. That is ultimately the thing. It's no one single thing. It's not, it's going to produce X many ounces a year, it's X size. It's about, certainty over cash flows in the future. And that doesn't matter whether I'm producing gold or there's some widget manufacturing company. If I know I've got a really great product that I can sell in the future, that's what it's about. It's about, and certainty that you've probably got a high margin to be made on that product as well. So so it's made very, very complicated in the mining sector, all the different elements, but really comes down to it should be simple. So cash, obviously cash is king, but it's really about returns, Matt. And how do we continue to deliver those returns? Been asking about those. We've got our first resource. We'll continue to de-risk that. We hope to make it bigger, and we've got the other discoveries we've made. So it's not just about the one that everyone heard about last week. It's about all the assets and how we continue to demonstrate the potential return for the shareholders of this company over the next few years of all those assets. And that's what we're going to do. Yeah, look, it was, I guess, the gains of last year were on the basis of, a couple of years before that, of very, systematic, steady work that probably people weren't that interested in, all the background of the science. And we developed a very systematic approach to exploring this part of the world, a new technique, a combination of 2 different methods, and then setting very clear goals for our exploration team about what they had to find, deposits of scale. And we laid out, go back to our presentation, it's got to find a deposit of $2-3 billion of NSR. We call it a couple of million ounces, and then very strict goals. And the team have just delivered on that. They've been very disciplined of how we've worked through them, filtered through a lot of targets. And the outcome of that is that we made 6 discoveries and we invested about 36,000 meters on drilling into this Equities discovery. And that's what's come to that maiden resource. Well, I dispute that, because I think the story's changed significantly. We've gone from people wondering about if the next set of drill results is going to be successful and the volatility that comes with that, to actually being, do you know what? This is just basically a milestone in the development of this company. We wanted to come out and say what we found already, because we knew it was significant, and we wanted to answer that question for investors. But it hasn't. It's not a now let's just do the PEA and de-risk it story. So we can show the growth. Certainly more growth to have through de-risking it and telling people what are the economics there, and we'll deliver that over the next year. You'll get a PEA, but it won't be on the resource that we just announced. It'll be on a resource based on another 60,000 odd meters of drilling in this region. So that's a big change from where we are now. And then that growth, obviously, what's the growth potential of that extra drilling? It's at Equities for sure, where we see really good upside, but also we're still looking for the other Equities, and we're going to drill off the satellites. So, there's an awful lot of growth we feel in the potential of that asset. And then, beyond that, we still run the business that found Icarus. I found these discoveries. We're still running that in the background, our new generation discovery business. Those guys are more pumped up and excited than ever. So there's still potential growth on that side. And that's really, I'll take it a step further. You look at our KPIs of our team and our management team, we have to deliver a return, a multiple return on the shareholders' capital we invest every year. So yeah, we're aligned. We want to see more growth, and we're going to try and deliver it. What do we want to be when we grow up? I think there's the question that all the and I think people say, oh, what's going to happen? Are you waiting to be bought out? Are you doing this? I mean, none of those things really spend a lot of management time on. I think, go back to our presentation now. It says high quality across the front. We are looking for high quality assets. We found a high quality discovery. As investors, you should be only wanting to buy high quality stocks, and because you can sleep at night if you've got something that high quality, because by its very nature, someone else will want to buy something that is high quality. That's just the nature of the world. So create something that's like that, and yeah, I don't worry about what I'm going to be tomorrow, because if I just keep on doing the job and demonstrating that we've got a really quality product, we'll either be a great quality production company or someone else will have a great quality asset if the shareholders, want to take an offer from a company in the future.
Good afternoon. This is Dan O'Flaherty speaking. I'm the CEO of Maverix Metals. We are a precious metal royalty and streaming company with a market capitalization of approximately 700 million US and a portfolio of gold and silver royalties and streams of over 120 assets, 14 of which are currently paying. Well, we're mostly focused on Maverix ourselves internally, and where we're looking at is, we've got a very attractive portfolio right now. We're very well positioned to continue to grow in terms of our net cash position of over $20 million. We've got access to capital with a credit facility of 160 million available to us. And, we've got a very desirable currency in terms of some of the transactions that we've done with counterparties such as V1 and Kinross, including some equity components. So we're very well positioned to grow through M&A. But also we're positioned well to grow organically, as we've got a number of assets, royalties on assets that companies are building right now. We have got a royalty on Camino Rojo, which Orla is putting into production, hopefully by the end of the year or in Q1 here. So we've got a very active portfolio where our counterparties are spending money for the benefit of their shareholders, but we as Maverix shareholders are benefiting on that growth spending as well. So I think it really goes back to the formation of Maverix originally with our chairman, Jeff Burns, who was the CEO of Pan American Silver for 12 years. And in that role, he was able to attract Pan American as an initial stakeholder and the then chairman, Ross Beatty, to really get the initial portfolio that we required from Pan American Silver to have that credibility and momentum to really build the business. And from there, we were able to attract Goldfields onto our registry and position Maverix as a natural buyer for future portfolios, such as from Newmont and Kinross, who are now all on our shareholder registry right now. But ultimately, it comes back to the very beginning with our chairman, Jeff Burns, and kind of that vision from Pan American Silver. Well, that initial critical mass is very important, and it essentially becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of building a business as you continue to build and demonstrate that track record of growth. It makes it kind of easier to continue to grow from there. Oh, absolutely. It's certainly not a growth for growth stage. We're very focused on per share metrics at Maverix. So when we look at growth, we look at growth on a per share basis, revenue per share, cash flow per share. Absolutely.
Currently, production 400,000 tons per annum, 120,000 ounces. We're about to embark on a small expansion, which will increase that to 150,000. Busy with an updated study, which is looking to expand that threefold, so increasing our production to about 350,000 ounces. Resource to support that will be completed this year, and that resource will be plus 5 million ounces, plus 10 grams per ton, one of the highest grade resources in the world, and of course that leads into low cost. 350,000 ounces a year plus is what we're looking at. Feasibility study finished first quarter next year. To look at that project or to build that project, 2 years. So in 2 years' time, you're tripling your production, one of the lowest cost, if not the lowest cost producers of that size in the world. That's the great thing about what we're doing. We're a producer, 120,000 ounces a year, one of the lowest cost. increasing that to 150,000, so an extra 30,000 ounces for only $2.5 million, so next to nothing. Generating lots of cash that actually allow us to build that project without dilution, the so-called holy grail, expansion without dilution. Personally, I think gold has great fundamentals going forward. I think the mining industry in general has very good fundamentals going forward. And I'm talking the metals industry as opposed to, say, for instance, coal, for instance, which we all know has got more limited life, let's put it that way. So I think the fundamentals are there. The reality is that we are becoming shorter and shorter in terms of the amount of metals that we're finding. So it's not just gold, it's not just copper, it's nickel, it's all those other ones as well. We are not finding the same size of deposits, the same quality of deposits. And that means that we've got supply constraints for many, many metals. Gold is just one of those. I think we're seeing the same thing. There's a lot of uncertainty in relation to inflation. We've had an extended period of low inflation, as you know, for many years now, which is pretty much unprecedented. Will it continue? With the way we've been printing money and all the rest of it, you have to think it's difficult to see it being maintained, and that we will have more challenges in relation to inflation. Come back to, where's your value? Put your money in the bank and see it going backwards. I think anyone who puts money in the bank right now, they know it's going backwards. So when you're in that sort of environment, then precious metals come to the fore. And when you've got all the uncertainties that we have right now, again, precious metals come to the fore. It's a balanced investment portfolio, as they say, and gold remains a fundamental part of any balanced portfolio, in my view.